Have you ever sat down with a warm cup of coffee in the morning and wondered, is this actually helping me or hurting me now that I'm older? You're definitely not alone. For many of us, coffee has been a faithful companion through decades of work, parenting, late night conversations, and quiet moments of reflection. But as our bodies change, so do the ways we process and respond to the things we've always enjoyed, including that daily cup of joe. Today, we're going to have a real, no nonsense conversation about coffee. Not just whether it tastes good or gives you energy, but what it might be doing inside your body now that you're in your later years. We'll talk about what your doctor might not be telling you, what research is starting to reveal, and whether this long-loved ritual is still serving your health or working against it. Let's start with something that might sound familiar. You drink your usual cup in the morning, maybe even a second one before lunch. But by evening, you feel a little more restless than usual. Maybe your sleep has been getting lighter, shorter, or more disrupted, and you can't quite figure out why. Or maybe you've noticed your heart fluttering a bit or your stomach feeling just a little uneasy. Sometimes it's not a big change, just a little off. And coffee, while comforting, could be playing a bigger role than you think. One of the first things to consider is how your body processes caffeine now compared to decades ago. When we're younger, our metabolism tends to burn through things faster. But as we age, caffeine tends to stick around longer. What that means is your afternoon coffee might still be active in your system come bedtime, quietly stirring up your nervous system even while you're trying to wind down. That could lead to disrupted sleep cycles, which over time can affect your memory, mood, and even your immune system. But it's not just about sleep. There's another side to coffee that often flies under the radar, especially when it comes to blood pressure. For some people, that quick jolt of energy from coffee also causes a spike in blood pressure, even if it's temporary. If your body is already working a little harder to keep your heart in check, that extra strain could add up. You might not feel it immediately, but over time, even small, repeated bumps in pressure could impact your heart health. Still, coffee isn't all bad. That's what makes this conversation so important. There's a reason so many people swear by it, and not just for the energy boost. Coffee also has compounds that have been shown to support brain function, improve mood, and even provide antioxidants. The key isn't in avoiding it completely. It's in understanding how much, when, and what kind of coffee makes sense for your body right now. Not the body you had in your 30s or 40s, but the one you live in today. Let's talk about the kind of coffee you drink. Not all cups are created equal. For example, that rich, creamy latte might taste amazing, but what's in it besides coffee? Creamers, sugars, flavorings, these can turn a simple drink into a calorie-heavy, blood sugar spiking bomb. If you're watching your weight, your cholesterol, or your blood sugar levels, those extras can quietly undo a lot of the effort you're putting into healthy habits elsewhere. And then there's the question of how much is too much. For some people, 1 cup a day is just right. For others, even a small cup might bring on jitters, irritability, or digestive issues. The trick is tuning into your body. If you've been feeling off lately, whether it's trouble sleeping, anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere, or stomach discomfort, try pulling back on your coffee for a few days and notice the difference. You might be surprised how much more rested and balanced you feel. The idea here isn't to take away something you love. It's about making small adjustments so you can keep enjoying your routines in a way that actually supports your well-being. Coffee can absolutely still be a part of your life. But the way you use it might need a little shift, a little intention, a little listening to what your body is telling you now. The goal isn't to follow strict rules. It's to feel better, think clearer, and move through your day with more calm and confidence. Now that we've opened the door on how coffee can affect sleep, blood pressure, and digestion, there's more we need to look at closely, especially the long-term effects of daily coffee habits on energy, hydration, and even bone health. One thing that often surprises people is how something as ordinary as a cup of coffee can quietly affect hydration levels. When you're in your senior years, staying properly hydrated becomes more than just drinking enough water. It's also about paying attention to what might be pulling water away from your body, and coffee, though liquid, can sometimes do just that. Caffeine has a mild diuretic effect, meaning it encourages your body to get rid of fluids. It might not be noticeable at first, but over time, especially if you're not drinking enough water to begin with, it can slowly contribute to dehydration. And dehydration isn't just about being thirsty. It can affect your energy, your skin, your digestion, and even your mood. Another detail that tends to get overlooked is how coffee influences nutrient absorption. As your body matures, its ability to absorb certain vitamins and minerals naturally declines. Adding coffee into the mix, especially around mealtimes, might actually make it harder for your system to fully take in some of the nutrients it needs most, like iron and calcium. That quick cup with breakfast might be interfering with more than just your morning quiet time. If your meals are the main source of your nutrients, it's worth considering when and how you drink coffee, because timing it better could mean your body gets more out of the food you're already eating. Then there's the connection between coffee and bone health. For years, this was rarely discussed, but now researchers are starting to pay attention to how regular caffeine intake might be linked to reduced calcium retention. And as bones naturally become more fragile over time, anything that could make them weaker deserves a closer look. If you're someone who enjoys coffee but also has concerns about osteoporosis or thinning bones, it may be worth balancing your intake with more calcium-rich foods or spacing your coffee away from calcium supplements. It's not about cutting it out completely. It's about stacking the deck in your favor. And now let's talk about something many people might not expect: how coffee interacts with medications. When you're in your senior years, it's not uncommon to have a handful of prescriptions or supplements as part of your routine. What many folks don't realize is that coffee, especially when taken alongside certain medications, can speed up or slow down the way those meds work in the body. That means the pill you're taking for blood pressure or anxiety could be hitting harder or fading faster, simply because of that cup of coffee you had. It's not a danger for everyone, but it's something to keep in mind and talk about with your healthcare provider if you've noticed odd side effects or changes in how you feel after taking your medication. Coffee can also influence how you feel emotionally. For some, it lifts the mood and creates a sense of comfort and focus. But for others, especially as the body's chemistry evolves, it can create a nervous energy that wasn't there before. That jittery, uneasy feeling might not have anything to do with stress or what's happening in your life. It might just be your body telling you that your usual dose of caffeine has become too much. Being in tune with these signals can help you make changes before they turn into something more troubling. Maybe it's switching to a half CAF blend, or having your coffee earlier in the day instead of mid-afternoon. Maybe it's choosing to skip the second cup entirely. Small shift, big benefits. There's also a social side to this conversation. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's often a moment to connect, reflect, or take a break. That ritual can be incredibly meaningful, especially when days are quieter than they used to be. And the last thing anyone wants is to feel like they're being told to give up something that brings them joy. But what if the real power came not from giving it up, but from using it more wisely? A cup that supports your mind, your heart, and your body instead of quietly draining your energy or interfering with your health. That shift in thinking from "should I have coffee" to "how can I make this work better for me" changes everything. Some people find that switching from a standard brew to a cold brew or a lighter roast makes a difference. Others swear by caffeine-free alternatives that still provide that same warm, comforting sensation. And some discover that having a simple mug of hot water with lemon in the morning wakes them up just as much, without any of the side effects. The key isn't to compare your habits to anyone else's. It's about observing your own rhythms, listening closely to how your body responds, and making small changes that support the life you want to live. If coffee is something you look forward to every morning, you're not doing anything wrong. But your body may be asking for a gentler version of what used to work. And the great news is there are plenty of ways to make that adjustment without giving up the ritual or the pleasure. Now that we've explored the lesser-known ways coffee might impact hydration, nutrient absorption, bone health, and medication interaction, there's still one more important layer to uncover, and it has everything to do with your long-term energy, your blood sugar balance, and how to get the most benefits from your favorite brew without compromising your wellness. Let's take a moment to talk about how coffee can influence your energy throughout the day. While many people sip their morning cup expecting it to give them a boost, what they often don't realize is that caffeine can create a pattern of spikes and crashes that leaves you feeling more exhausted than before. You might feel bright and alert after that first cup, but a few hours later, the fatigue sets in again, and often stronger. This up and down rhythm can make it harder to stay consistent with your energy, especially when your days require calm focus and gentle stamina instead of sudden jolts followed by sluggish dips. Another layer to this conversation is how caffeine can affect blood sugar. Even without adding any sugar to your coffee, caffeine itself can interfere with the body's ability to manage insulin efficiently. That means your blood sugar could become less stable, even if your diet is otherwise balanced. For someone in their senior years who may already be watching their blood sugar levels, this detail is worth paying attention to. An innocent cup of coffee in the morning, especially when consumed on an empty stomach, might be doing more behind the scenes than you realize. That doesn't mean you need to cut it out entirely, but understanding the relationship between caffeine and glucose can empower you to time your coffee in a way that keeps your body on more even ground. What's also interesting is how coffee affects appetite. While some find that it curbs their hunger in the morning, others notice it completely removes the desire to eat until much later. Skipping meals might not seem like a big deal at first, but for seniors, getting enough nutrients at the right times is essential. If coffee is dulling your appetite, you could be unintentionally depriving your body of the fuel it needs to support immune function, cognitive clarity, and muscle strength. And on the flip side, for some people, caffeine leads to increased cravings later in the day, especially for sugar or refined carbs. It's the body's way of trying to compensate, but it can create a cycle that's hard to break. Then there's the role of timing. Drinking coffee too late in the day can interfere with your body's ability to unwind, even if you don't feel the effects right away. Some people think they're not sensitive to caffeine, but the truth is, even if you fall asleep easily, coffee consumed in the afternoon can reduce the quality of your deep sleep. You might wake up more often, feel less rested in the morning, or notice that your dreams are more fragmented. Over time, this subtle interference with rest can lead to lower resilience, more irritability, and a slower response to stress. And speaking of stress, it's worth noting that caffeine can have a quiet impact on how your nervous system responds to everyday life. For seniors, managing stress becomes especially important for overall well-being. If caffeine increases your heart rate or amplifies your reaction to small things, that's not something to ignore. It may be subtle, a tightness in the chest, a twitchy restlessness, or a tendency to feel overwhelmed by things that used to feel manageable. These signs might be easy to dismiss as part of getting older, but they could be tied to that second or third cup of coffee without you even knowing it. There's also the matter of quality. Not all coffee is created equal. Some lower quality brands are more acidic or contain residues from pesticides or malts. While your body may have handled those things just fine in the past, with time, the ability to filter out toxins becomes less efficient. Choosing a higher quality organic roast, or even opting for decaffeinated options that are water processed instead of chemically treated, could be a game changer in how you feel after your morning routine. It's a small switch, but for many people, it's enough to ease the digestive discomfort or jitteriness they thought was just part of aging. And if you're someone who likes adding milk, creamers, or flavor syrups to your coffee, there's another layer worth considering. Many flavored add-ins contain hidden sugars or artificial ingredients that may quietly undermine your health goals. Even sugar-free labels can be misleading, since many contain chemicals that confuse your metabolism or affect your gut health. Over time, these little additions can influence your digestion, your weight, and even your mental sharpness. The coffee itself might not be the issue. It might be what you're putting into it. Some people also notice that coffee leads to more frequent trips to the bathroom, and while that may not seem like a major concern, it can affect hydration, sleep, and even confidence when you're out and about. If you're someone who finds themselves needing the restroom more urgently or more often after coffee, it might be worth shifting when you drink it or how strong you make it. Something as simple as using a smaller mug or switching to a blend with lower acidity can create a noticeable improvement in comfort and confidence. At the heart of all this is the idea that your body is always communicating with you. Coffee might be something you've enjoyed for decades, but how it interacts with your system now might be very different than it was 10 or 20 years ago. That doesn't mean coffee is bad. It just means your relationship with it might need a little tuning. And once you start paying attention to how it fits into your daily rhythms, you can make smarter, kinder choices that protect your energy, your focus, your sleep, and your digestion without sacrificing the joy of your morning cup. It's also important to consider how coffee interacts with any supplements or medications you might be taking. While it might seem harmless to have your coffee with breakfast or just before your daily pills, caffeine can actually change the way your body absorbs certain nutrients and medications. For example, it may reduce the absorption of essential minerals like calcium or magnesium if taken at the wrong time, and in some cases, it can speed up or slow down how quickly medication is processed by your system. That doesn't mean you have to give it up, but being mindful of the timing, even by shifting your coffee an hour earlier or later, could help your body get more from the things you're doing to stay well. Another detail that often goes unnoticed is how coffee affects emotional balance. While many people rely on it to lift their spirits, especially during quiet mornings or sluggish afternoons, it can sometimes contribute to mood swings without them realizing it. Caffeine stimulates the release of certain stress hormones, And while that can make you feel more alert in the short term, it may also lead to a sense of unease, irritability, or sadness once those effects wear off. For seniors navigating life transitions, changes in routine, or moments of reflection, keeping your mood steady can be just as important as managing your physical health. Then there's the question of ritual, that comforting act of holding a warm cup, the aroma rising from the steam, the way it anchors your morning or adds warmth to a cool afternoon. Sometimes, what people love about coffee isn't just the caffeine. It's the habit, the familiarity, the feeling of normalcy it brings. And that matters. But what if you could preserve the ritual while making small adjustments that better support your body's needs? You might try alternating between regular coffee and herbal blends, or exploring lower caffeine roasts that still give you the comfort without the potential side effects. These little tweaks let you keep what you love while still choosing what serves your health. And on the topic of alternatives, there are now more options than ever before, from chicory root brews to roasted dandelion teas that mimic the flavor and depth of coffee but are naturally caffeine-free and even packed with benefits for liver health or digestion. If you've been curious but hesitant to try something new, know that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can blend your favorite routine with new discoveries and find a rhythm that feels fresh, supportive, and uniquely yours. One area that often surprises people is the impact of coffee on skin health. Dehydration caused by too much caffeine can show up subtly in fine lines, dullness, or a change in skin tone. As you get older, hydration becomes more important for keeping skin supple and radiant. If you've noticed your skin feeling drier or looking a bit tired, consider how your caffeine intake could be playing a role. Increasing your water alongside your coffee, or balancing it with hydrating foods like fruit, can make a visible difference over time without taking away the joy of your morning routine.